Hello and welcome to the Sage Thyme channel. I'm Lillian and today let's do a nice little quick shot tarot oracle reading for you today. I'm using the Mystical Shaman oracle deck, there we go, as well as the Patch Tarot by Spirit Science, and some interesting contrast in energies. I was just trying to pull some cards. Okay. So the first card to come through is the Sorcerer card. Number 48 here. And this individual here, you know, it's interesting that there are two things that really stood out to me was seeing through the dark with rainbow sight. I know it's kind of, but I think you can gather what I'm saying here when that message came through. Seeing through the darkness with rainbow sight, and a distinction and a differentiation wants to be made here when we look at things dark versus light, or in polarities. We often miss the richness of what can occur within those two polarities, especially when there's an openness rather than a contraction of perspective. You know, when we have a set idea of what anything means, it can only mean that or something close to it, because that's all we can see or hear. Anything else, there'll be a cognitive dissonance, or even before that, before a cognitive dissonance can even occur, that there'll be a shut-off of disallowance. Our brain won't allow it, our cognition won't allow it. In fact, when we have a cognitive dissonance, it can be a very positive thing, because it can mean that our soul, our spiritual self, is pushing us cognitively and in all the other ways too, emotionally and everything, to see something, feel something, experience something completely outside of what we would think it could be, even so, more so beyond what we think something could be. So to see through the darkness, you can see the sorcerer there, they're adorned in darkness, and yet they stand in the light, and they get their power by bringing the two together in a way that a chef can combine ingredients, the same 5 ingredients, in 200 different ways, just by altering the way that the order in which it was applied, the way in which each ingredient is cooked or prepared, even cut. Everything affects everything and creates a new, nuanced, rippling product when that happens. And the same goes with our perception, our senses, our sensuality states. And so the sorcerer knows that. The sorcerer knows that the magic and the power is in the unseen, unobvious, non-apparent truths that lie within the more superficial, evident truth. I think we're just going to do one card from the mystical. I have that feeling like the last reading. Let this be the pointed card. Boy, interesting. All right. Let's see what we have here. Okay. So the first card that came out is the 5 of Cups. It's kind of a sweet, comical portrayal of the Five of Cups. You can see the two patch folk are seeing that their cups are just, there's nothing to them. They're empty and they're distraught, and they're out in the desert and it's arid, and there's a scorpion approaching. This is a Mars and planet and a Scorpio constellation card. And what's beautiful is there's kind of this watermark of a pentagram and a hexagon in the center of the image. And the hexagon is the strongest shape known on our planet and life. Scientists will discuss how so many natural creatures and plants and so forth, systems, even stones and so forth, will shape themselves in a hexagonic shape. It's so strong. It cannot as easily be pulled apart as some of the other shapes can be, a square or octagon and so forth. And bees are known for having hexagon shapes of each of their little, I don't know the official names for them, but the little holes. And so what I'm seeing here is that, yes, there's loss and despair and the sense of defeat, and there's this looming threat nearby that could or could not, who really knows, get them. But the truth is, sorry about that, what they aren't seeing is that they are supported by a strength, by a pattern, and all patterns are symbolic of a story. Stories upon stories, stories of the ages, are contained within geometrical shapes and patterns. It's a lot to get into, but really you can see here there's even a double layer of the hexagon to further illustrate the absolute strength of this moment of loss and despair. And to me, that goes back to the sorcerer saying, look deeper into the darkness, the dark night of the soul. Look deeper into the beauty way of it, because the beauty way exists in all states of being, in all circumstances and situations. And you don't always have to be able to see it, but if you look, it will come to the surface. Even if it waxes and wanes, it'll come and let you know there is beauty in this moment. Not just lessons and learning, there's beauty, there's love in this moment. And so if you're going through or facing a dark time right now, a very challenging time, keep turning inward and calling in your deepest knowing of love and deepest knowing of beauty and the truth of that, the higher truth of that, and let that show itself to you. And then remember to place a finger hold or a foothold on the remembrance of it, because it can slip away. That's part of the sorrow and the loss and despair of a dark night, of a difficult time, of great loss. And as with all things, oops, I didn't want to mess up the order there. As with all things, that the sun will rise and you will become it. And so it seems like there is a message of being at the beginning of a new cycle, a challenging cycle, and one that and I'm not predicting this is something that's coming. You're either already in it and this message resonates, or this message isn't exactly for you, but you are in or well in the middle of and coming out of or starting into this really difficult time. And from it, knowing, even when it might be impossible feeling to believe that it's true, that the sun, that you will become this sun, you will rise as the sun, and that hexagon and pentagram that is protecting you and reminding you of your strength is becoming this intricate geometric shape and flower of life. Look at that. That's what you're developing. And that's what happens every time we go down into the depths. And you can see here all the symbols and sigils for all the constellations are surrounding this being, this angelic being who's gotten his wings, and he's rising with the power of the soul at his heart, lighting him up and everything around him. And he's surrounded by all the constellations, malefic, benefic, however you want to see it. He's got the dragon above him, a water dragon, reminding him of his consciousness and his purity and the depths of who he was, why he went through those more trying dark nights of the soul, reminding him of that so that he doesn't have to leave it behind him. In fact, he can bring it with him. And here again, I'm just realizing all the colors of the rainbow around him. He is neither strictly the light nor strictly the dark. He has combined them and transcended them and himself with it. And in doing so, he has created just marvelous spectrums of color. That is the dark and the light coming together in union. Not a graying, but a multi-faceted spectrum of colors. And then the last card that came out, the Queen of Swords. And the key word being perceptive. I'm just kind of letting this come in. Down here we have the Hebrew tree of life shape at the Queen of Swords' feet. Perceptive. I believe this is speaking of a Queen of Heart that has descended and then ascended, or a Queen of Swords, excuse me, who has gone through the dark descension and risen into the great light ascension, and now is staking her sword in the center, right there in the clouds, not clearly up in the heavens and not all the way down into the underworld. And she's remaining perceptive. She is maintaining the knowledge that all things ebb and flow, contract and expand, go dark, go light, and to know that and not resist it is one thing, but to do that also while staying present, conscious, awake, and continuing to develop that sense of presence and perceptivity. That is I recognize definitely that is an essential ingredient to prevent oneself from having to dip down into the depths of darkness or shoot oneself up into the cosmos of enlightenment, because where there's one extreme, there has to be another. So when we can bring ourselves closer to the center of a balance and allow the ebbs and flows, contractions and expansions to still occur, there's a greater balance and a greater appreciation and enjoyment for the experience of the cycles in all of them. And I think that's really, I know it's kind of a basic message in a way, but there's a lot in there. And I feel like, I want to kind of go on and on about it, but at the same time, all the different details that go with these cycles and staying clear and present and self-aware and perceptive of our surroundings and our inner universe, they change as well, and they change within each one of us at different moments and times and circumstances and what we're going through. And so it feels to me like this reading is an inquiry towards you, the viewer, asking you, where are you? Asking you to ask yourself, where am I in this present state of my cycle? And where am I in the sense of maintaining the practice of presence and clarity and perceptivity, awareness at all times? How well am I maintaining that, if at all? And do I need to develop the potency of it even more? Do I spend time reflecting? And what are the details of my present moment in the present space of a cycle that I'm at? So that is really what feels like is trying to come through here, is a presentation of an outline of what we are generally all aware of, but a presentation in such a way that's asking you to ask yourself where you are. There's the card. Where you are in any given particular moment in time of that process. Yeah. So I'm going to take both of these cards. The third one that came out isn't it. So where you are in this present moment of your self-awareness. Home. Oh, this card is gorgeous. I have not seen this before. There we go. Look at that. And she's pointing, I've not ever seen this card. This is so perfect. She's pointing at her heart space, the same heart space that got all illumined and in the enlightenment rays of the cycle. And she's reminding you where home is. It's within you. It's within the inner universe of who you are, even if that's in the great, far different, distant expanses of the cosmos. That still exists in truth entirely within you at your core. And the portal to that, as well as the existence of it, is within that heart space. I mean, really. That's just so perfect. And then the second one, an absolute essential confirmation, alignment. We can get there with focus. We can stay there with alignment. And what does alignment require? Well, it requires a loyalty to your integrity, holistic integrity. And when I say that again, to kind of give an example of holistic integrity, if you're somebody who believes in a healthy world, where in your life are you living that, being that, and representing that, and where are you not? So if you believe in a healthy world, and are you consuming healthfully? Are you buying local and fair trade and ingredients that have not been tampered with chemicals and poisons and overprocessed, and the carbon footprints and how much packaging is involved? I'm just giving an example of one thing, but it's really interesting for me when I spend time with this, and I take a moment now and again, or more than now and again, and I say, where am I not in holistic integrity? And I always am prompted to ask that question of myself when I'm finding it difficult to be in my home self. And then my next thought is, where am I not in alignment? Where am I not thinking, emoting, acting, being, everything in alignment with the things I believe in? So if I believe in kindness and nonviolence, am I buying products from a company that also funds war? Or, I'm giving more basic examples, and it goes and goes and goes forever and ever. And of course, it can be very overwhelming when we look into it, because it starts limiting the things that we can participate in and consume while staying in holistic integrity. But here's the beauty of it. The more in alignment and true to our holistic integrity that we are, the less inclined, like self-aware of this, the less inclined you'll feel of participating. Things just won't appeal anymore that you used to think were healthy or well within the parameters, or it's fine. All of a sudden you'll realize, yeah, that's not going to work for me. I don't feel right. It really throws me off, and I have to work a lot harder to maintain that vibrancy of love and truth and the things that are your core values. And so it's a wonderful self-check system that in truth each one of us is creating for ourselves. A self-check feedback mechanism that, at least for me, what I've recognized is if I find I'm not in alignment and I'm realizing, gosh, I have been buying things pre-made. Again, I'll use the groceries. It's an easy one. Instead of making it myself, a boxed frozen pizza, instead of really the beautiful, sensual, and creative task of making my own dough and pizza and everything. Of course, it's not reasonable, nor is it always wise within my holistic integrity to make every ingredient of it, to make my own tomatoes and make my own cheese and so forth. However, my spirit self, my spirit team, my personal feedback mechanism recognizes, because it has a greater view of everything that's going on, what is within the parameters of my integrity. And so I can go buy cheese at my local co-op that is created under pristine, high standard, I'm losing the words, just standards, and use that as part of, but things still feel more simple. I don't need to have, sausage and pepperoni and olives and all these things, because I'm realizing the thought of eating meat makes me feel like how I know I'm going to feel after I eat it. And I know I'm going to feel that way, or I end up feeling that way, because that's the feedback loop that I've instilled within myself. In a way, it's a bit of a self-induced contract. And that's my feedback loop. And you might think, well, why would I do something like that to such an extent? In all the things that just feel so complicated and so limiting. And I'll tell you, because it's exactly the opposite. Everything becomes so simple and fluid and streamlined, and everything then that you need to have a delicious life, a rich life, in a simple way and in alignment way, starts just showing up, and life becomes more abundant. Resources become more abundant. The quality of all the ingredients in your life, not just food, increases exponentially. And it's because of that holistic integrity. I love that this is what's come through today. This is a really wonderful way for it to show up. So I think I'm going to close with that. I want to thank you for hitting the like button if this reading resonates, or you'd like to support this channel. Thank you for your presence here today. I hope everybody is well and doing the work with self-loving grace and kindness and compassion within, smiling at your body and mind, loving your heart, body, soul, and mind, and letting that just build and cultivate within you so that it overflows and you become a vessel of generosity, of all that is love and compassion, beauty and kindness. That is who you are as you choose to be, and it's a wonderful thing. I am so grateful for your presence. Have a blessed day, everybody. I'll see you soon.